Ah, the sweet smell of relevant Fernando Alonso merch for the month of May. What's up, Race Nation TV here. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the breaking news of IndyCar. Fernando Alonso will be driving in the 104th Indianapolis 500 for Arrow McLaren Schmidt-Peterson. Got the Fernando shirt. I had the hat on, but yeah, orange and blue is not my color. Anyways, big news today. We kind of expected it after all the Andretti thing went on. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about what happened, or what supposedly happened, or what didn't happen. It's a good story. It's a confusing story. It's interesting. I'm also going to talk about the Indy 500 entry list a little bit, how many there are, who's probably going to go where, what's going to happen at the end of the video. So first up with the big story. Fernando Alonso with Arrow McLaren Schmidt-Peterson at the Indianapolis 500. How did this happen? So it started out, it was looking like he was going to go to Andretti Autosport. And then a big story came out around January, I want to say, that plan was basically axed. It was done because of Honda Japan saying no. They told Honda HPD, who goes out of California. Everything Honda in North America comes out of HPD in California. So basically, the big bosses in Japan said no, and that didn't happen. That was the first story that came out. That's what everyone thought, that Honda said no to this. That's what happened. But then about a week ago, a story came out that Michael Andretti actually said that he can hire whoever he wants through his Honda contract, and it was actually Fernando Alonso's team that the deal didn't come together. That makes total sense to me. Nothing, Honda never said anything publicly about it. No, there was no comments from Honda Japan about it. It was all just kind of, I guess you could say, a rumor, but it makes sense to me in a way. But yeah, so it all came out around last week that it was up to Fernando. And today with this deal, it's also apparent that's what happened, because if you go through the interview with Lee Diffie and Fernando Alonso, he says that ultimately it came down to choosing McLaren. Now, anyone could point at this and say, like, oh, it's a PR stunt. I just didn't want to put it publicly that Honda said this. But, I mean, I believe it. I mean, why wouldn't Michael Andretti have it in his contract that he could hire whoever he wants? He is leasing engines from Honda. It's not like Honda can tell him what to do. Okay, I feel like that's a pretty easy thing to believe. So then, when all that came out, it was kind of apparent that Arrow McLaren was pretty much the only choice he had. But I remember reading something way back that said that running a car for Fernando was off the table, and all this stuff about Fernando not leaving McLaren totally, which he did, came out, and it became very hard to believe that he would be racing with McLaren. But today, it was announced he's racing for Arrow McLaren SP in the number 66 Ruoff Home Mortgage car. Now, if you remember Ruoff Home Mortgage, that was the sponsor that sponsored Takuma Sato when he won the race in 2017, which was also Fernando's first start. Funny enough, Fernando said he wanted Sato's engine. He got a sponsor 2 years later, or 3 years later. Yeah, math. Yeah, I'm definitely really excited to see Alonso. His first time in the car will be in the April 30th open test, and I'll be there covering that. I don't care how inconvenient it is. I'll be at an IMSA race the day after that, but I'll drive 4 hours and go cover that and go check it out before the official month of May begins. So with this news, let's take a look at the entry list this year. So far, we have 36 entries. David Land did a great video on the entries with all the graphics and stuff that kind of puts it together, but this puts us at 36. And if he's right, and Arrow McLaren adds a fourth car, then we should have 37 entries if Juncos comes back as well. There's a couple dominoes to fall, okay? So right now, with the supposed entries, we're looking at 36 of cars that we know could do it, right? Technically 35, because Juncos is one of the dominoes to fall. If Juncos comes to the race, we'll have 36 entries. What this deal also does, especially with Alonso choosing Arrow McLaren over Andretti, was that opened the door to Andretti for James Hinchcliffe to come drive for Andretti Autosport, and Rahal Letterman Lanigan, who Hinchcliffe supposedly had signed with when the Alonso deal was going down, their ride, Rahal's, they've talked a lot about only putting the right guy in their third car, and it's going to take money. They don't want to put in a Jordan King. I think that's pretty apparent from the things they've said, and they don't want to put a rookie in that won't help the team. So I think that third Rahal car kind of is up in the air now at this point, because they don't have Hinchcliffe, who would have been the guy with money that they would have wanted in the car. So I think unless Oriol Servia gets in that ride and has some money, and that's announced soon, I think that ride is just a matter of time and when they can get it done. Now with that car, if that happens, Juncos comes back, we'll have a good 36 entries. If the fourth Arrow McLaren car happens, like David has speculated, then we'll be at 37. And then, funny enough, another domino to come in is the Buell Citroen, however you pronounce that, team that want to contest the GP of Indy and the Indy 500. If that comes to fruition, we might actually have 38, and we might have an easy 37 at that point if Juncos comes. But anyways, there's a couple dominoes to fall on the Indy 500 entry list. If you were to ask me, I think this whole Buell thing, unless there's a driver paying, I don't think that entry can happen. They say they will partner up with an existing team. That existing team could easily be Carlin or Arrow McLaren even for the next car. But if that happens, then we'll have an easy 37, maybe 38. Who knows? This has been Race Nation TV. Go subscribe for more content. We're going to be at the April 30th Open tests. In a few weeks, I'll be at St. Petersburg. I'll be there for the entire month of May. More content to come. Lots and lots of new content to come. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.